Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked, blissed? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USA Prepares. We're delighted you're here in class with us today. We broadcast 2 hours from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. And if you'd like to call us, 866-582-9933. 866-582-9933. Telephone listen line is up and running. I checked it again this morning. 605-562-6564. 605-562-6564. Andy is engineering the broadcast in Minnesota. I'm Vincent Finelli. Dr. Shealy is with us. Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
Do we have Dr. Shealy?
Hello?
Hey, Dr. Shealy, are you blissed?
Yes.
You know, I was thinking about how we do this once a week, and I ask you that, and you come out with a resounding yes, and emphatic and enthusiastic, and I was thinking, okay, you know, Dr. Shealy's always happy, and how much are we shortening our lives by being like a Scrooge or a grumpy person or someone who is a sourpuss or, you know, not seeing the best there is in the opportunities we have? Are we shortening our lives, Dr. Shealy, by not doing what you do?
Depending upon how bad it is, anywhere from 7 to 20 years.
7 to 20 years?
Well, one pack of cigarettes a day alone, and that is a problem. Shortens your life by 7 years. 3 packs, 18 years. I mean, that's average, and that's with that being the only negative trait.
And we're talking about adding to being grumpy and having a sour outlook on life also, decreasing our lifespan 7 to 20 years?
You bet. Well, look at the average American. Average American's lifespan is decreased a total of 22 years. Average.
Wow.
That's because of crummy, stupid common habits, health habits.
And, you know, I was, Dr. Shealy, I read some articles about that, but I haven't not seen any as dramatic as average life expectancy decreasing 22 years. Are we talking about over the last couple of decades, or what period are we talking about?
Well, it's been going, we haven't been above that ever. And so, you know, it's where we are as measured by the end of 2015, at least, average.
Well, okay. So I'm looking at this. I just wrote down 7 to 20 years, then I wrote down 18 years for a 3-pack-a-day smoker. Heck, we're looking at darn near 4 decades for someone who is grumpy, depressed, and smokes 3 packs a day.
You got it.
So what else can we do to decrease the burden on Social Security, Dr. Shealy?
Hey, the government will love us if they're not paying it anyway right now. I wonder when those Social Security checks will come out again. Obviously, number 1, 2, and 3. Actually, number 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6 is to avoid the medical profession. The number one cause of death is the medical profession. A minimum of 400,000 people a year are killed by the medical profession. That's what is known. That doesn't take into account all the things that aren't known. Did you know the death certificate requires that it be filled out according to the diagnosis code, so it doesn't leave any room for I goofed, are killed by surgery or killed by antibiotics or anything like that. So these are the ones that can be more or less pretty well proven. Some people believe it could be upward of 775,000.
So are you saying that if there's a surgery and the surgeon cuts off the wrong leg, and during that surgery the patient dies from bleeding to death, the death certificate would say that the person bled to death?
They would say that the person died from whatever the cause of the surgery was.
Wow. And
this is
does
all
one person
so-called iatrogenic.
Does who makes the determination? Is it one person, or is there a committee of several people? Okay.
Whoever the most closest to this corpse position is.
Mm-hmm. I wonder what the death certificate for President John Fitzgerald Kennedy said. I wonder how accurate, the description of his wounds were. And I know that I've read that President Gerald Ford changed the Warren Commission's report on where the wounds were from the bullets. He changed it.
Well, let's face it. I don't believe there's a single statement made in any government hand that I would trust. Not one. I wouldn't trust them to tell me the time of day.
I was watching a television series on the internet, and it's called Victoria, about Queen Victoria and the challenges that she had undergone. And it kind of, I was watching this intently because I'd like to know what the Queen does. I really would like to know. And I have a friend, I guess maybe he's no longer a friend anymore. He lives in England, and I once asked him, so what does the Queen do? And he said, well, she's the Queen. I said, yeah. What does she do? What does she do? And he said, well, she's the Queen. And I never really got an answer. And I was talking to our son, who also knows this gentleman in England. And I said, have you seen him? Have you talked with him, over the years? Because I haven't seen him in many, many years. I haven't talked to him. He said, I think he's still mad at you. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, you insulted him. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, you asked him what the Queen did. I said, yeah, because I didn't know. Still don't know. And evidently, I insulted this guy, and he won't communicate with anyone in the family anymore because I asked him what the Queen did. Now, I just don't understand that. I really don't, because if someone asked, yeah, well, is she in charge of the thermostat? I mean, what is, what does she do? Maybe she is the guardian of the British Constitution.
Among other things, of course, she is also the head of the Committee of 300.
Yeah.
That's a sideline, not acknowledged in the Constitution.
Mm-hmm. Right. Other than that, other than being the head of the Committee of 300, other than being the guardian of the Constitution, what does the monarchy do, really?
Make money.
Yeah, and I know I've heard that the royalty has royal duties, and they need to attend to them. I'm just trying to figure out what they are.
Well, it's all bullshit.
That's 6 letters, right? BULLSH.
Yes.
Yeah, because we can't say the full word here on the air. Okay.
Oh, no. Wouldn't be allowed. Only Obama's allowed to say it.
Yeah. And it's so delightful that the airways are not littered with the sound of his voice as much. He pops up every once in a while to make sure that we recognize what trash sounds like. But it's nice that he's not as prominent on the airways and people aren't talking about him as much. So, Dr. Shealy, I was talking with our engineer this morning, Andy, and I asked him if he had any medical questions. And he has a question that he'd like to know the answer of, and that is bacterial versus viral infection. What is the difference? Can one be treated? Can the other not be treated? what is there a difference in symptoms? So when someone goes to the doctor and says you have, one or the other, what does that really mean? Do we know?
Well, yes. In general, bacteria can get in the bloodstream, and you can have, a generalized bacteria going everywhere. But the vast majority of time, a bacterial infection is more or less localized to a given organ. Let's say the bladder. Could be the kidney, but it's more likely to be the bladder. Could be the lungs. Rarely is it the heart, for instance. Could be the brain. Then you get an abscess in the brain. Viral infections, in general, tend to affect the body as a whole. Now, they don't have to, but the fever, the chills, all of those things that often wind up symptomatically other than fever and chills and muscle aches and stuff in the lungs. But it can also end up in a specific organ. And, there are so many bacteria that can cause infections and possibly an infinite variety of viruses that could cause infection. These are just different organisms. The viruses are much smaller in size than the bacteria. But in either case, it's a weakness of your own immune system that allows it to happen. Mm-hmm. For instance, and I'm knocking wood, I haven't had a viral infection in the last 12 years. And I used to get 1 or 2 colds or a flu a year. But when I started taking vitamin D3, 50,000 units a week, I stopped getting them. That is the single most powerful thing you can do to protect your immune system.
Vitamin D3, single most powerful thing you can do to protect your immune system. So it sounds to me like what we really have to do is keep our immune system intact, operating at peak performance, so that we can fend off all these assaults to our bodies as we travel and go to work. Yeah. Dr. Shealy and I'll be right back. Dr. Shealy's with us, Dr. Norman Shealy. If you'd like to go to his website, normshealy.com, NORMSHEALY.com. And that's where you can sign up for his free newsletter, the same one that I get multiple times per week. Dr. Shealy, I was talking with Andy, our engineer, today during the break, and we're talking about D3, vitamin D3. And his question is, do you prefer liquid vitamin D3 or the gelatin liquid capsules?
I prefer the capsules. I can get it all, in about 10 seconds. That way, the liquid, you have to, measure it, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm. Now, you recommend 50,000 units once per week. And
you
I'd like to make sure
140 pounds or more.
Yeah, if
every 10 days you weigh under that.
Okay. Else 10 days, if less. Okay. All right. So 50,000 units. That's 50,000 units per week if you weigh 140 pounds or more, or if you weigh less than 140, we're talking about every 10 days. Now that's once per week or once per 10 days. We're not talking about this once a day unless you're really, really sick. Is that right?
Right. Every once in a while, if you feel as if there's an unequivocal bug coming on, I would take 150,000 3 days in a row, but no more than that.
Okay. And what are the downsides, Dr. Shealy, of vitamin D3 if we took too much of it?
The only known thing is if you take too much calcium while you're taking the large doses, it can actually cause kidney damage.
Okay. So when you talk about calcium, are you talking about drinking too much milk, or what are we saying, or too much cottage cheese, or yogurt?
Mostly a lot of people take calcium supplements. In general, I don't worry about eating foods with calcium, but I don't take or recommend any calcium supplements when you're on the large doses of vitamin D3.
Okay, so lime water, calcium lime.
Oh, yeah,
water.
I don't worry about that.
That would be okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's vitamin D3. Relatively inexpensive. You can get it locally. Now, is that available on your website as well, Dr. Shealy?
It is $30 for a 2-year supply.
$30, 2-year supply. Okay. All right. Now, what about young people, Dr. Shealy? Let's say there's maybe a 10 or 12-year-old child. Do you recommend?
I recommend 50,000 once a month. All my grandkids have been on it. Let's see, my youngest granddaughter is now soon to be 17. So let's say she's been on it since she was 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so the benefits are freedom from those bugs that you get at school, the sniffles, the cough, the aches.
25 years ago, they gave all school-age children 600,000 units once a year. Cut the incidence of flu and cold by 80% or more.
Interesting that you said that. And so was there any risk for doing that once a year? That massive of a dose?
No. It would be okay for the average, everybody. Now, the fact of taking 50 times 50 would be 20, that I don't know that I recommend that on an adult. But the 600,000 for an adult would be probably okay once.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just one. You mean once a year or once in a lifetime?
Well, once a year, but I wouldn't take any in between that.
Mm-hmm.
I think personally I prefer to take it once a week. I don't know why.
Okay, I was studying about. We're going into a break. About Jackie Kennedy, and she had an audience with the Queen when she was alive, when her husband, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was president. And some remarks came out of Jackie's mouth, which she apologized to the Queen for, a little bit later. I'd like to talk about that when we come back, and why she said that. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. Dr. Shealy, so my research led me to learn that Jackie Kennedy, the president's wife, John Fitzgerald Kennedy's wife, when she traveled, got this, what was called a miracle elixir, an injection that was given to her by a physician. And it really perked her up and, made her appear to be her very best, when she was traveling abroad. Are you familiar with these miracle injections, or do you have any idea what they might have been?
No.
Okay. So, anyway, the article that I'm reading is saying that she was ready for a shot. The short, dark-haired man with red cheeks and a German accent reached into his black doctor's bag, withdrew the syringe. He injected the magic elixir into her buttocks, and she was ready for, traveling. And that's what it went on to say. And I saw, I'm wondering if this was, an amphetamine, or whether it was, what it was. But anyway, she evidently received these injections, and I was wondering if this is something that those who are at the heads of government receive when they travel to either prevent disease or, let them do social battle when they are in the presence of other heads of state.
I don't.
Just wondering if you'd ever heard.
I've never heard of such an injection. That doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. All I can say is it's not in the known or alternative literature that I'm acquainted with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, I know that back in the 1960s and maybe into the 70s, early 70s, women were convinced by the medical profession that they could take these weight-reducing pills, and it would give them lots of energy and help them lose weight. And I believe they were amphetamines. Is that correct?
Exactly? And they're dangerous.
Mm-hmm. And it was like, I'm sorry?
Long term, they're very dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that was my question about Jacqueline Kennedy. And Andy had another question. Here's a friend who's just under 30 years old. And he plays the guitar a lot. And he's also a chef. And he has what he believes is carpal tunnel syndrome from lifting those heavy pots and pans and playing the guitar.
He's deficient in two things.
What might...
He's deficient in magnesium, and he's deficient in B6.
Okay. So what is the prescribed method to fix this? Magnesium, would that be
milligrams of B6 every day for 30 days, 500 milligrams every day for 30 days, and 100 milligrams for the next 90 years.
Okay. So let me see. I wrote this down.
2 teaspoons twice a day for at least the next 100 years. We'll make it 96.
Magnesium lotion now. I'm sorry. What was that, Dr. Shealy?
I was mumbling to I said, make it only 90 more years. That would take you to 120.
Okay. So magnesium lotion, 2 teaspoons twice a day. Now, class, I use this. Mrs. Finelli uses it. Our children use it. And you can buy it at Dr. Shealy's website, normshealy.com. And it's kind of like a Cornhuskers type lotion. And Dr. Shealy puts it on his south side, I guess right after a shower. Is that right?
Exactly.
Okay. I prefer to put mine on my legs and my chest. Is that okay, Dr. Shealy, to do it there?
Absolutely. Anywhere but the face. The only reason I don't want the face is if it gets in your eyes, it's going to sting. It won't sting normal skin, but it would the eyes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then, in addition to the magnesium lotion, that's from now on, class. That's what I just heard. And let's see, B6, vitamin B6, 1,000 milligrams every day for 30 days, followed by 500 milligrams a day for the next 30 days, followed by 100 milligrams per day from now on, or from then on. Okay. And you think that will have a positive impact on the
He should notice a big change within a month.
Okay. Okay. I was talking with someone, Dr. Shealy, whose thumb started twitching. It would twitch, once, and it would twitch twice, and it was not something that could be controlled on the left thumb. Have you heard of that?
Oh, sure.
It would twitch. Okay.
Now, that needs a thorough neurologic exam, but if nothing else is found other than that, I would use Earth Bliss every day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I remember when I was a child in school, my one eyelid would twitch, every once in a while. Not very often, but every once in a while, just, have a little twitch and it would go away. And is that something similar, or is this kind of a transient thing that this person may have, or?
Yeah, those are usually transient things. It could have been some slight deficiency or some slight extra stress.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I was just wondering if this person needed to be very concerned or just kind of watch it for...
In general, I'd watch it. Okay. If it's not, steady and ongoing or increasing, I wouldn't worry about it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And Dr. Shealy, Parkinson's disease, that comes up every once in a while. We have an instructor who has Parkinson's disease. Is there are there symptoms that we can learn about that we would see the early onset of Parkinson's? We've talked about this before, but to recap, if someone has X, Y, and Z symptoms, would that indicate Parkinson's or further investigation?
Well, there are 2 major symptoms with Parkinson's. One is the tremor, mostly in the hands, but it can involve other parts. And the other is slowness and stickiness, if you will, in moving. They have an increased drag, if you will, on the muscles in moving in almost any group of muscles, but especially in walking, called shuffling of the feet. Those are the 2 earliest signs.
Okay. Now, when someone, yeah, and my dad had that, and when someone has this shuffling in their feet and it's noticed, how long has that person had Parkinson's? Is that years?
It may even be difficult to diagnose unequivocally at that point, but that is certainly one of the signs that it needs to be thought about. But it could go on for a year or two before it becomes obvious Parkinsonism.
Okay. And you had mentioned a simple test about just putting your feet together, while standing, putting your feet together, closing your eyes, and maintaining your balance.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And how long should a person be able to do that, without losing his or her balance?
Oh, a minute.
Okay. And then is a little bit of swaying tolerated in this test? I mean...
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Because it's not something we're accustomed to doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. One of the things that I was thinking about, I plan on moving the studio into another room in our farmhouse. Right now, the studio broadcast desk is facing north. And that's because of the room layout. It's not my first choice, but it's because of the layout of the room. And I was thinking that the next room I'm going to move into has options where I could face any direction I'd like. But south would be probably the give me the most amount of room. Is there a direction where if a person, and I'm not just saying for broadcasting purposes, I'm talking about, let's say a person goes to work and they have a choice of 4 cubicles, and one's facing north, one's facing south, another east and west. Is there a preferred direction to face if you have a choice at work, or if you have a home office and the room will allow you to pick a direction? Is there a preferred direction at work in terms of facing that direction?
I know that sleeping, supposedly the ideal is to sleep with your head to the north.
Okay, and we do that.
That is general, metaphysical principle, but I don't know about when you're standing or sitting at a desk that it matters as much.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, how about light? Light in the office. Now, for example, one of the reasons I want to make this move, and it's going to take me a couple of days to make this move, to move all the equipment and get it hooked up and uninterruptible power and that kind of thing, and I'm planning all for that. How about light? Facing the light. So if I have a choice of facing south, I'll have more light shining on me, and I'll be able to see more light out of the windows from this other room than where I am right now. Is that something that you would recommend if someone has a choice of, sitting by the window, for example, or sitting in the middle of a room?
Well, obviously, I think in general during the day you get the best overall by looking out the south, because you can see to the east, you can see to the west, you can see to the south, and it's a better panorama.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, that was my thoughts as well, and that's what I will be doing. And when we come back, Dr. Shealy, can you share with us your thoughts about what you're working on now, what's piquing your interest at the moment, what you're seeing in your clinic, and those kinds of things? PEMF, pulsed electromagnetic frequencies, scalar, all of that. What's happening in the world of Dr. Shealy when we come back right after these few short commercial announcements. Dr. Norman Shealy is with us. NormShealy.com, NormShealy.com. Dr. Shealy, what's new in the world of Dr. Shealy?
Well, this evening at 5 o'clock, our Institute Review Board will be hopefully approving 3 new research projects. 2 of them on diabetes, one on the management of diabetes that's out of control, second on diabetic neuropathy, and the third one on the use of the cranial PEMF for narcotic addiction.
Wow. Isn't narcotic addiction one of the biggest problems facing young people today?
Of course. The Pharmaca Mafia has done it in.
And who is doing this? Is it the University of Missouri?
No, that's all of us doing it at the Institute.
Oh, okay. So how does this work? You have is this a committee meeting? How does this approval work?
Formal, sanctioned, if you will, approved by your government, Institutional Review Board, and they have to have 5 different members, and they have to review it for ethics and other safety and all that, and then approve it before you can start.
And what type of qualifications would a person have to be on this type of a review board, Dr. Shealy?
Well, you want somebody in general with some kind of scientific background. Secondly, you want someone with an ethics background, such as a minister or a psychologist, and sometimes it's good to have a lawyer.
Okay. And so can you share with us what your proposed study will do? How this would work, the mechanics?
I didn't know there are half a dozen or more houses in the city of Springfield where people have been placed there, and they're under constant observation and monitoring and daily drug measurements and everything by the court. And they have to stay there a minimum of 2 years. And so what we're going to do is learn whether or not this seems to cut down on craving and that sort of thing. Apparently it's been approved by the board of those houses, who runs those houses for the government. And they will be, invited, encouraged to use the cap or head PEMF a minimum of 2 hours a day. They can use it more, but not less than that. And we'll be measuring basically craving and a few other symptoms at that particular study.
And are these people who are staying at these houses, 6 or so in the Springfield, Missouri area, are they required to be on the property for 2 years? Can't leave the...
Exactly.
Wow.
They are,
so they're
they have to be
under house arrest.
Taken to go anywhere.
Boy, that must be kind of tough in itself. Are these large campuses, or are these just 1 acre?
I think at most maybe 6 people in a house.
Okay, so this would be a regular residential house that we're talking about. Is that right?
Right, but they're owned by a not-for-profit organization that manages to help watch these people out of prison before they're allowed back in the general public. Okay.
And are these people on their own, or are they supervised?
They're supervised. They definitely have significant supervision.
Okay, very interesting. And well, I got to tell you that I have one of your early PEMF devices right here at the farmhouse, and it's absolutely painless. It's just a coil, electromagnetic coil. I mean, no bleeding, no surgery, no cuts, no wounds. All I have to do is follow your direction. Simple as that. Very interesting, Dr. Shealy. I hope this all works out well for everyone involved, you and those who have the addiction. Wouldn't it be great if this is the answer? Can you imagine that? Without chemicals, class. Fixing a drug addiction without chemicals. Everyone all set? Yeah. Cocked, locked, blissed. Here we go. Hour number 2 of USA Prepares. Dr. Norm Shealy is with us. Dr. Shealy, our engineer, Andy, has a varying schedule of hours, and he works the overnight shift.
Yuck.
And I'd like him to explain. Well, the good thing is he's excellent. The bad thing is I think it's kind of yeah, and I'd like him to explain exactly what he does, and maybe you can offer some suggestions to allow him to operate at his peak performance. Andy, welcome to USA Prepares.
How's it going?
Well, it's going well with us, Andy.
I'd have to...
Suppose I should explain.
Andy, I've got... Yeah.
Well, sorry. What was that?
Oh, I'd have to ask you how it's going. You've got most of the controls at your end. But, so, Andy, tell us about what it's like as an engineer, what you do, and those kinds of things. And then Dr. Shealy can understand exactly what your schedule is kind of like.
Well, I start my shift in the evening, and I work an overnight into the later morning, 3 days a week. Do extra long shifts, and I find myself, awake during all of the night, and then I get home and I fall asleep during the day, and I wake up when it's nighttime again on a majority of the week. And I was just wondering if that would affect my health.
Yes. The evidence is overwhelming. The worst of all is people who vary from month to month, sometimes working day shifts, sometimes working evening or night. Second worst is working just nights. The best health enhancement is basically to do your sleeping sometime between 9 p.m. and 5 or 6 a.m. Up to 8 a.m. is okay if you have to go that, if you didn't get to bed until midnight. But most people do well to get to bed by 10 and up by 6 or 7.
Okay.
And it just long term. Now, you're young, and it'll begin to bother you more by the time you're 45 or 50. But it does sap your immune system tremendously. And that's true. It's true no matter what the work, no matter how much you may like it. Even people who are natural so-called night owls never are quite as healthy as people who are morning larks by nature.
That explains a lot.
Yes, it does. You couldn't pay me. I physically never have been in my entire life physically able to do that on a regular basis. Now, when I was an active neurosurgeon, sometimes I had to miss sleep, but that was maybe one night a week, not every night. And once I stopped doing surgery, I would never do that again.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Shealy, as Andy continues in his profession, he is often somewhat alone at night. He's running the network at times when there might be one other person there, or possibly Andy's the only one there, and he's responsible for, Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, all of the 6 studios that are broadcasting simultaneously out of Genesis Communications Network. So I guess the stress level, if something goes wrong, could be quite high, and there's really nobody to turn to, and you're responsible for it on your own. Is that true or not true?
It's not completely true. I mean, there's maybe a few other people here throughout the night, but I have noticed that since I've started taking the night shift that the amount of social activity that I have has plummeted, and that I have a 2-day weekend. I have kind of Friday, Saturday off. Those are really the only times that I go out and meet people. So I don't know if that's that different from anyone else, but yeah, I used to hang out more.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it interferes with your social life, but more importantly, it interferes with your health. And, I just have to always say personally, it would have to be, I'd have to be desperate to try to work that way.
But I have a feeling that Andy really loves what he does.
Well, it's nice to love it. That's good.
Mm-hmm.
And you can handle it probably for another 10 or 15 years before it begins to have significant benefits.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle it for that long. Eventually, I'd like to switch to the day shift.
What time? Do you know what time you were born?
11 a.m., maybe?
Uh-huh. Okay, so I tend to think that influences our night owl versus morning owl personality. I'm not certain about that, because a lot of it depends on your parents as well, and how much they influenced your timing the first 6 or 12 months of life.
Well, I think a lot of it had to do with me kind of being one of those so-called night owls that you're talking about, and I had difficulty at other jobs getting up sometimes in the morning, and with this particular schedule, it's almost impossible for me to be late if I don't work until 5.
Right. Interesting. What's your birthday?
January 25th.
Okay, so you're a butterfly chasing a rainbow. That's the Aquarian personality. That's just one aspect of it. But all of these things influence us. None of them control us. They all influence us.
Dr. Shealy, should he do something about his lack of sunlight on most days because he's indoors, running the operations of a
I don't
studio
really
gym?
like ultraviolet light, as a tanning machine and that kind of thing. So other than taking vitamin D3 and K2, I don't think so.
What's vitamin K2?
Well, you need some K2 to get optimal benefit from D3. They work synergistically. They're almost like Siamese twins. Now, most people actually 100 micrograms is adequate. I take 15. That's the optimal when you're taking the big doses of D3.
So, Dr. Shealy, 100 micrograms of vitamin K2, is that what you're recommending for most of us?
Yes.
Okay. And so what would Andy be best taking D3 once a week at 50,000 units, which you've mentioned previously, or should he take like 7,000 a day daily and vitamin K2 daily? What would you recommend would be the way he should take these two vitamins?
Then he, how much do you weigh, Andy?
Like 200 pounds.
Oh, well, no, he would do better off just to take 50,000 once a week because it's like about half the cost of taking 7,000 or 10,000 a day.
Okay. And does he take the K2 every day, even though he's only taking... Okay. All right. And when you said you take 15 vitamin K2, what did you mean, Dr. Shealy?
Take 15 milligrams.
Oh, 15 milligrams.
It comes in milligrams instead of microgram amounts. And the only contraindication to taking the larger dose is if you're on a rat poison, warfarin.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I'm not
what
on
about?
that.
Okay. What about? There's a blood. Let's see. I'm trying to think what it's called. Some people take it in conjunction with carvedilol for high blood pressure. If it and it's snake venom.
I know.
Is that something that you would not take with K2 as well?
I wouldn't take the drug. I'd rather be dead than poisoned slowly.
Yeah.
I don't like any of these chronic drugs. Mm-hmm. I can't think of one I would like to take or be willing to take.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, Andy, do you have any other questions for Dr. Shealy regarding the multiple shifts and being semi-alone and being in the dark?
My diet is really messed up. Being awake during all of those times when everything else is closed.
That's equally important to your long-term health. Each health habit influences everything. The most important thing is to avoid 100% all fast food restaurants. I consider them total junk. The second most important is to eat a minimum of 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. That's together. 2 or 3 fruits, 2 or 3 vegetables, total of 5 minimum every day of your life. Sugar is, toxic. I wouldn't quibble over 3 or 4 teaspoons a day. I would when you get up to the average American intake, which is 45 teaspoons a day. Coffee and tea, I think 3 cups of 3 cups of either one a day is okay. I doubt you get much exercise with the schedule you've got.
I try.
So the next most important thing is to get some kind of physical stand-up, moving around 30 minutes, 5 days a week. All of those things influence health.
Thank you.
Andy, you don't use tobacco, do you?
No.
Good.
Great. Okay. So it looks like this is something that's pretty easy to work on because we're not talking about any addictions. We're just talking about diet and a couple of vitamins and get some sunshine. We'll be right back. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us, and Andy, our engineer's with us. And class, during the break, Andy and I were talking about the smell of smoke. And here's what happened, Dr. Shealy. Our son is a collector of very interesting things, and he just shows up with finds that he has brought home. And a few weeks ago, he brought this tripod home, and he said he traded a knife for it. He had a Bowie knife. Well, this tripod is huge. Literally, it was used during World War II by the Germans, and it is a set of field binoculars with sunshades, and the tripod is, with the binoculars mounted, is probably about 5 feet tall, maybe a little taller than that, and the legs spread out easily, 3.5, 4 feet, and they're chained together. It's just 3 legs, and they're chained so they don't spread any farther. And it's the coolest thing. It really is. I mean, you look into this, and you can see out with magnification. But it was in an antique store, and the owner of the antique store was delighted to part with this because he wanted the room. It's huge, but the guy was a smoker. And so our son brought it in, and he said, "Dad, this is the coolest thing. Where do you see this?" And I said, "Yeah, really, it is the coolest thing, no question. But it smells terribly of cigarette smoke." Now, Andy and I were talking about this and how smoking is not allowed in radio studios because of the tar attaching to the diaphragms of microphones and the electronics and the controls and the potentiometers and the switches and so forth, how it can mess them all up. And the gear is so expensive, that's why it's not allowed, and it degrades the performance. Well, bottom line is smoking is something that tar that's stuck on this tripod would be stuck even greater than that on the lungs of the person smoking.
Of course.
Yeah. And
smoking
Yep.
is the single, greatest danger to your health other than the nuclear bomb.
Mm-hmm. And Dr. Shealy, I read many years ago, I read that the tobacco industry studied the modification of tobacco seeds to make the tobacco plants more and more addictive. And I remember seeing these liars, the CEOs of corporations in the tobacco industry, lying before Congress about smoking being addictive and causing disease. Well, we all know that it does cause disease. We all know that it is addictive. But how does someone who does smoke for stress, we'll call it stress smoking, and people say, "Oh, it's my job. It's so stressful. I smoke. I can't quit." What do you recommend that person tries to do? Okay.
No question about it. Autogenic training is the single easiest, best. It does take 18 minutes twice a day, but your life is worth it.
No, absolutely. Okay. Can you give us a thumbnail description of what you do, Dr. Shealy, in autogenic training?
Well, I actually went through the 3 months. It takes you 3 months to train your body. After that, you can do it in a minute or two. But the first is 18 minutes in which you repeat, in a relaxed state, breathing very slowly, one full breath for each in and out of a phrase. My arms and legs are heavy and warm. My heartbeat is calm and regular. My breathing is free and easy. My abdomen is warm. My forehead is cool. My mind is quiet and still. Doing that, each of those phrases, roughly 20 times or so, it puts you into the lowest possible stress mode in your body. I call it retraining the brain. It's like learning a new language, and here the language is stress reduction.
Mm-hmm. Well, Andy has a stressful job, I believe. Andy, is that true at times that your job is stressful because of things that happen that are beyond your control?
To some degree. I try to keep my cool.
No,
well,
I'm not saying
if
that you...
he's interested, he'll send me an email. I'll be happy to send him an MP3 of autogenetic training.
There you go. I'll tell you how to do that when we come back, Andy. Dr. Norman Shealy's with us. Dr. Shealy, I have Andy's email address. I'm going to send that to you, after the broadcast is over, and you can send him that copy of the autogenic training. That's very kind of you. Thank you for taking Andy under your wing. Andy and I had a chance to chat for a couple of minutes during the break, and I made some descriptions of what I thought would be stressful situations in his life, and that would be, there are alarms that can go off in a radio studio. Alarms can go off if there's dead air, for example. After a certain number of seconds of dead air, the alarms go off. Guests may not show up. Telephone lines may go down. Hosts may not show up. Hosts may go on to a break and not come back, at the appointed time. Commercials may not run. I mean, so many things could go wrong, and I would consider them stressful. And I'm not talking about how Andy would deal with those, because I know Andy's a professional and doesn't melt down. But those issues, those situations could be stressful in a person's life, and I'm sure they would be for me, because every day, 5 days a week, at 9 o'clock, it's a little bit stressful for me because a whole bunch of things have to work right. For example, I have to have electricity in the studio. The computers have to all have been booted up prior. The atomic clock has got to be working. Telephone lines got to be working. And within the next 2 minutes, I make sure that we have our instructor, that my communications is working okay, that the engineer's there. I mean, all these things have to happen, within 120 seconds. So that is probably the absolute most stressful time of my day. But if things go wrong, I don't melt down. I just deal with it in a logical way. And I'm sure Andy does as well. But Andy, would you say that those kinds of things can happen on your end of the broadcast equation as well?
Yeah.
Multiply by 10.
Right.
They happen.
Yeah.
But you gotta, I learned in college that the best way to deal with stressful situations is to stay calm, because panicking doesn't help anything.
I call that detaching. My favorite word in all of English. Detach from those things you cannot change.
And Dr. Shealy, as a medical doctor, in the operating room, things could get even more stressful, where the patient is on the verge of being dead within a minute because something goes wrong with the patient or the medication or the surgery. How do doctors deal with this, Dr. Shealy? I mean, that's incredible stress. We have a friend, you have a business partner, a friend of mine, Dr. Sergey Sorin. He is an ER doc. And it's life and death all the time in his world, right?
I can't discuss that.
No, what I mean is
private.
No, I don't mean that, but I mean,
he is an absolute devoted night owl.
Mm-hmm. No, I didn't mean to discuss privately or his private situation, but what I mean is the stress that an ER doc is under. I just can't imagine. Personally,
I would not do it.
I would not want to do that. Yeah. But on the outside, he is as calm as can be, and he's the kind of guy that I'd like to have around if I were in a life or death situation. But so in Andy's case, we're looking at vitamin D3, vitamin K2, some more sunlight, cutting out any of the fast foods that you wouldn't eat. And what about foods you would recommend, Dr. Shealy?
Well, almost all fruits and vegetables, most of them raw or cooked. Mm-hmm. Any kind of naturally raised beef, poultry, pork, fish, etc. Lots of nuts and seeds. I don't eat any significant starch except sweet potatoes once every couple of weeks. I think they would be okay more often than that. I do not practically ever eat Irish potatoes. I don't eat any packaged cereals. In general, I don't eat any of the 60% of the food in a grocery store that's got all kinds of junk in it.
How about steel-cut oats?
They're okay. I don't eat them very often, but I consider them okay.
Okay. How about oatmeal?
I consider that okay. I just don't get around. My breakfast is a slush. My slush contains at least 40 grams of whey protein isolate and 6,000 ORACs, which are antioxidant units, and that's equivalent to 6 servings of fruits and vegetables to start the day. I don't get hungry.
Dr. Shealy, can I mention your age?
85, yeah. I'm
85.
But
Dr.
I still
Shealy's
feel 26, energetically.
And Dr. Shealy's up early. He's traveling. He's speaking worldwide. He's on the radio. You've been on the radio with us 6+ years.
And on KWTO for 31 years.
31 years. Wow. 31 years. And in the studios of KWTO AM in Springfield, Missouri, the powerhouse.
Working on my 36th book.
36, yeah. Very energetic. Dr. Shealy is, I'll tell you what, I've seen you at a convention, and I've seen you walking down an aisle, and you move pretty fast, Dr. Shealy.
I'm a little slower than I was since my little surgical accident last April, but other than that, I'm back up to my full 90 minutes of exercise every morning before I start the day.
Andy, did you have any questions for Dr. Shealy?
No, that's great. Thank you.
I want to ask him just one more. I didn't ask you. I heard you weigh 200 pounds. How tall are you?
6 foot.
Okay, perfect. You're not overweight.
I live in Minnesota, and in the winter, nobody gets exercise, really.
Right.
But during the summer, spring, and fall, I bike more than I drive.
Wonderful. Well, I do indoor exercises, and if you just stood up and bounced, go to YouTube and look up Bounce with Dr. Shealy. And even that, even 30 minutes of that 5 days a week would be better than not doing it.
I'll look that up. Did you say that was Bounce with Dr. Shealy?
Bounce with Dr. Shealy, yes.
Yep, it's on YouTube.
Sounds like a song.
Right. Yeah. Maybe I should write a song to go with it.
Yeah.
I'll look into that. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great. I'm great, Andy, to have met you.
Dr. Shealy, I was reading you and I have been talking about cell phones for years now. And there's an article on the internet that says, yes, you can kick your cell phone addiction. On average, we look at them 33 times a day. A fascinating book tells you how to stop. Researchers believe that smartphones can alter the function of the brain. Most adults in the United Kingdom check their phones 33 times a day, but not teenagers. Teenagers, it's 90 times a day. Class, 90 times a day. That's every 10 2/3 minutes. Okay? I think they check them more often than that, but that's what this article says, and this is in dailymail.co.uk. And so they say you can stop your cell phone addiction. It goes on to say, it talks about, do you feel bored or anxious? Check your email, nothing there. Check social media, not satisfied.
Oh, my God.
Check a different social media account. And it goes on to say it's all too easy to spend hours on your cell phone without staying focused for more than a few seconds at a time. We might think we are being ruthlessly efficient multitaskers, able to book a table for a dinner while researching certain fabrics, switching effortlessly between screens, but the brain struggles to perform two cognitively demanding tasks at once. It slows right down, and your focus on both is diminished. Not only is it making us unproductive, it's mentally exhausting. The scattergun of bite-sized piece of information, it can easily overload the working shorter-term memory part of our brain, making it harder to transform new information to the long-term memory areas. This, in turn, makes it less likely we'll remember even those experiences we did manage to pay attention to. And there's a picture in this article where it shows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different people all at the same table, all looking at their cell phones simultaneously. It's like they don't even know that the
anti-social device ever invented.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And what's nice about this article, and I'll put it on the website at USA Prepares, I'll put a link up there. It says, quiz, how bad is your problem? And this smartphone compulsion test was developed by an addiction specialist, Dr. David Greenfield. And it says, just circle the questions that apply to you. And so if we can take just a couple minutes, I'll just say some of these and you can figure out, class, if these apply to you. When you add up the time you spend on your phone, is it more than you thought? Number 2, do you regularly find yourself mindlessly passing time by staring at your phone? Do you lose track of time when you're on your phone? Do you spend more time texting or emailing than talking to people in person? Has the time you spend on your phone increased? Do you wish you could be less involved with it? Do you sleep with your phone under your pillow or next to your bed regularly? I think that most people who have phones are going to say, yep, that's me. Do you find yourself viewing text, tweets, emails at all hours, even if it means interrupting other things? I'll bring up some more of these when we come back. Dr. Shealy is with us, normshealy.com. Class, very quick announcement. I plan to be at an event on March 8th and 9th in West Plains, Missouri. That's March 8 and 9, West Plains, Missouri. It's called Bringing Back the American Small Farm. Bringing Back the American Small Farm. I'm going to put a link to this on the website. And if you'd like more information, 417-293-0590. 417-293-0590. And the website, American Small Farm. AmericanSmallFarm.com. And there'll be a link to this on the website. Dr. Shealy and I were talking about cell phones. And number 8 was, do you find yourself viewing texts, tweets, and emails at all hours, even if it means interrupting other things? Number 9, do you text, email, tweet, or internet surf while driving or doing other activities that require focused attention? Do you feel the use of your phone decreases your productivity at times? Do you feel reluctant to be without it for a short time? Do you feel uncomfortable if you leave your phone somewhere or it breaks? At meals, is your phone always on the table? When your phone rings or buzzes, do you feel the intense urge to check it? Do you find yourself checking your phone many times a day, even if there is unlikely to be anything new or important? Okay, now here's the results of the test. Now, if you've said, yeah, that's me, 1 to 2 times is considered normal, three or four of those activities, your behavior is leaning toward problematic use. 5 or above, it's likely that you may have a problematic smartphone use pattern. 8 or more, consider seeing a psychiatrist or a psychotherapist who specializes in behavioral addiction for a consultation. Now, I'd be willing to bet that most people who have smartphones would answer 10 or more yeses.
And mine would be 000.
Me too, Dr. Shealy. Me too. So that was that little smartphone quiz. It's at usaprepares.com. Any comments, Dr. Shealy, on that?
I do not believe in smartphones. Now, I do have an old-fashioned flip phone that charged every week or 10 days, and I literally I don't use it. The only time I might use it is when I'm traveling, if somebody wants me to call them when I get there to pick me up.
Sure.
But basically, I don't probably use this thing 2 minutes a year.
And you don't really have a choice, Dr. Shealy, because when you arrive at your destination, you're in an airport, and you look around for a payphone that used to be there. No such thing, right? No such thing. So if you think if you have a flat tire or something and you just walk to the nearest payphone, that's going to be really tough because they've taken just about all of those out. Dr. Shealy, black pepper. Now, when I was younger, I was taught that black pepper is an intestinal irritant. Now we're learning that, well, there's beneficial reasons for black pepper, yes?
Yes, it's good. Good for you.
Okay.
I love black pepper. I don't use a lot of it, but I do like it.
How about white pepper? Is white pepper as good?
Probably not quite as good, but it's better than not any at all.
Okay. What is the best way that we should consume black pepper in our diet for intestinal health?
Well, personally, I think putting a little on any vegetable or meat product.
Okay. All right. Do we have to worry about anything with black pepper? Any concerns?
Well, I wouldn't overdo it, but that would be pretty heavy stuff, I think.
Okay. All right. And
I don't worry about it at all.
Okay.
A can of black pepper will last me a couple of years.
Do you recommend grinding your own, or is it pre-ground okay?
I don't.
Okay. All right. Well, we've got a pepper shaker, and we use that every day. And I've increased my use because I think that based on what you've said, it makes sense. It's very inexpensive, and so there you have it. Dr. Shealy, thank you so much for being with us in class today. I look forward to
Always my pleasure.